Good morning, Kayleen.
Hey
Good
Jean, how are you
afternoon.
doing?
Oh, it's afternoon. We used to do these in the morning, and now it's just like my habit to say good morning. But like as soon as it goes from 11:59 to noon, all of a sudden it's not afternoon. It's just noon. So good noon.
I guess at 12:01 it's
Afternoon.
afternoon.
Welcome to the Great Start Community Connections Facebook Live event with me today. For those of you watching now or later, I'm Jean Favor, and I'm the parent liaison with the Great Start Collaborative and Parent Coalition of Charlevoix and Northern Antrim counties. We support families with children 0 through 8, and providing them information about resources all over the area is one of the ways we do that. And our Community Connections is kind of an educational opportunity to let you all see the faces behind the organizations that are out there providing wonderful services for you. And today we have Kayleen. She's a total rock star, and she is with Safe Families for Children. Super glad to have you here today.
Thank you.
And if you maybe just want to give us a little introduction to who you are and what Safe Families for Children is, where you're at, all that good stuff.
Perfect. So I am Kayleen Whitaker, as Jean said, and I am the Safe Families for Children coordinator at Bethany Christian Services of Traverse City. So our bigger branch does all of the things. It's really cool to get to let people know how deep and how wide Bethany goes, and it's different each Bethany office. What our Traverse City office does is different than what our Holland office does. But here in Traverse City, we have a giant foster care team who works on placing kids and keeping them safe while they're in care. That works on foster home licensing and works on foster care adoptions. But we also have a giant refugee resettlement team that works primarily with families that are coming to the United States from the Ukraine, especially with all that's been going on in the Ukraine over the last year. So they work to get those families steady and stable so that they can thrive here in the United States when they're most of the time starting over with absolutely nothing. But we also have an incredible post-adoption team that provides supports to foster and adoptive families once they've walked through that. But I'm over here in Safe Families, and Safe Families works with families that are going through a short-term crisis. So that might be a mom that's struggling with her mental health, or a dad that's homeless and looking for work but still trying to take care of his kids safely. So it's a little bit different, and that's kind of the beauty of it, is every case is different. I've never, in 4 years, I have not had a normal case, but I love it. We're trying ultimately to step in before abuse and neglect ever occur. When things get hard and parents are struggling, that's historically when abuse and neglect occur in lives of families. And if we can step in and support them sooner, and hopefully prevent that from ever happening and keeping those families together. So we're a family preservation program that wants to ultimately keep families together and provide them with lasting supports.
A family preservation program.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, I think that's wonderful. So we all know that, and we're trying to reduce the incidence of child abuse and neglect.
Yeah.
And for those of us who are parents, there are those moments where you feel like you might not make it. So,
Yeah.
um, Safe Families for Children offers help with that. Like, what does that look like? So, let's
So,
say we'll just start with like, say, I am that mom or I am that dad, and I'm kind of at the end. I need some help. What do I do? Who do I go to?
yep. So when that happens, we get referrals from parents themselves that they've literally gotten to the end of the rope and they go on Google and they search for whatever's going on for support for mental health for parents or support for homelessness. And, by the goodness of Google and all of the things, sometimes they end up at our doorstep. If they're anywhere in the local area. So currently we have supports in Charlevoix, Emmett, Grand Traverse, and we just added Manistee counties over the last year, and we are working very diligently towards adding the rest of the counties kind of in the 10 county Northwest swatch. But if they fill out their help form either on Bethany.org or on SafeFamilies.org, it'll get sent to me immediately, or they can call me. And then we talk to that parent, see what's going on in the life of that family. But we also get referrals from agencies and from schools and from anybody that's in the life of that family that sees that they're struggling and needs supports. And that's another, I've never seen a normal referral. Like, they're different, and I'm constantly adding to my list of where I'm getting referrals from. So then we talk through what's going on in the life of that family to see if Safe Families can support them. So one of the key things with Safe Families is we're supporting families when a parent is in crisis. It starts at the parent and their inability to safely care for their kids for a season. unfortunately, if, say, it's a struggling teenager that's causing a crisis in a family, that's a little bit beyond the scope of Safe Families. We're stepping in when parents can't care for their kids. So we'll kind of talk with a parent and do just an initial screen over the phone, or email if that's how they contacted me and they don't give me their phone number, and just get a little info on what's going on. If it's something that we can step into and provide supports, we ask them kind of how deep is it? Do they just need some daytime supports so that they can go to a couple of counseling appointments? Or do they need some daytime supports so that as a struggling parent, they can just take a breath for a minute? Because sometimes that's all it is they just need 2 hours a couple of times a month to push pause and be able to take care of themselves. If it's deeper and it's, say, a family that's homeless and there's nowhere for those kids to safely sleep at night, we might put them in with one of our host families for a season until they can get into safe housing or until it's safe for kids to come back home. So it looks a little different with every family. We have kind of different levels of where we can support, from our host families for overnight care to our family friends that are providing daytime supports. But then we also have family coaches who just step in and walk alongside life with families and make sure, like, if mom needs to fill out a job application, if she needs help with that, they'll sit down and do it with her. If they need help filling out apartment applications, they'll sit down and do it with, because for some people that's like totally new turf where they've never done it. And every single job application and every apartment application is different and asking different questions. And that gets overwhelming when you're already overwhelmed. So we just try to step in and be there for those families exactly where they're at, which is really sweet that, like, we get to kind of craft it and walk along with their needs.
Yeah, it sounds like there's no like official formula, like it
Yeah.
sounds like parents can come to you from all sorts of areas with different concerns and different supports needed and requested, and then it sounds like you have probably just puzzle pieces putting together with providing the supports and with your volunteers. So I'm just going to back up a minute. So I'm struggling and I'm nervous, and my first concern is always going to be, if I am not able to care for my child, is my child going to be taken from me? What is this? I don't like. Is that something that you address with the parents? Like what you're looking for, and how do you ease the mind on that? How do you make it a less stressful? Just reaching out, from the beginning.
So we talk through with parents that, I am a mandated reporter like so many other people in the area. As long as we don't see that there's a risk of abuse or neglect, we're not going to, call the state. If we just see that they're struggling, we're just here for them. And we talk through the fact that this is voluntary. This is not the state taking over. This is not the state telling you have to place your kid somewhere. And even in our language, we don't typically use the word place. We say that they're, staying with a host family or they're with friends for a season, just to kind of take that label of placement in an agency off. Obviously, depending on what the parents have struggled with, what the parents have walked through, they might have had a removal 5 years ago. And it's even a little bit harder for them then to think about, okay, this is a foster care. So we talk through that, and as long as we can see, down the end of the line that it is safe for that kid to go back home, we're not going to call CPS. Obviously, there is a time and a place, and it does happen. But with Safe Families nationwide averages a 95% return home rate. The national reunification rate for foster care is 50% or less. So 50% or less at the time those kids go back home because we waited too long. But if we're stepping in sooner and parents see that they have the choice to get help and there's people walking alongside them with them, it looks a lot different.
Yeah, that sounds like it is a first step. It's the parent reaching out, So being aware that, maybe I'm at a level of struggle that isn't normal. We all have stress and we all have issues, but maybe when you're like, okay, I'm getting to the point where it is beyond my ability to really cope with the stress, or I need that day, or I can't breathe, and so I think that is great to get started early, and to just find a place for a child to be that's safe while the parent gets their head wrapped around what's happening. So as you talk about the different options you have, like a weekend placement or overnight or a daytime or staying with friends. So maybe I'm coming from the other side and I'm learning about Safe Families, and like, this is a wonderful opportunity. And where do you get those? Where do you get those families from? Those placements, those homes?
Where do I get all my wonderful volunteers
Where are all
from?
the volunteers coming? And is that an option?
Yeah, that's the sweet thing about Safe Families. The Safe Families is designed to be volunteer led. So it's professionally supported, and I'm the professional behind the scenes. But it's my volunteers that get to step in and love on those families. And really, we're just looking for volunteers that just want to make an impact on their community. Most of us can give up a weekend and bring somebody into our home just for a weekend or for a week so that a parent can take care of themselves. Or most of us can, give up 2 hours once a month to go sit next to a mom and help her fill out applications. There really is a way. That's one of my favorite parts about Safe Families is there's a way for everybody to get plugged in because we have the different levels. We have resource friends that donate goods so that parents are starting over can get some diapers or can get some furniture for their new apartment when they lost everything. But then we have our family coaches that are those practical supports of making sure parents are taking positive steps forward and meeting those goals they set with us. And then our family friends are those daytime supports that step in and maybe they're babysitting for 2 hours. There's one of our families that I legitimately just go spend 2 hours twice a month and give mom a chance to take a breath so that she can just take care of herself, so that she can love her kids well. But family friends can also do things like drive dad to a doctor's appointment or help somebody go pick up their car from, when it's in the shop. But then our host families do those overnight supports and, legally hosting can go up for 6 months. Typically a hosting is 45 days or less. It just depends on the situation, obviously. And, if somebody wanted to get plugged in with us, they can just go to safefamilies.org. There's a magic, get involved button right at the top. And same thing with Bethany. You can just go to bethany.org/safefamilies. And same thing, there's a join the volunteer movement button right on there. So
awesome. Yeah. And when you say the stays can be a weekend up to 6 months, we're talking just children, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the parents are separated from the children at that time to get working on things and to get, their peace made, and then we're brought back together after that. Okay, so it's not like a whole family is going to come and stay with you.
No, so we don't currently. There is a Safe Families Plus elsewhere in the nation that might host a single young mom and her baby. Unfortunately, we're not set up for that currently, so we're just hosting
children
the kids while mom and dad deal with what's going on in their lives.
Is there an age limit for the children?
So we can host up to 17.
Okay.
The second they turn 18, hosting has to end, unfortunately. Our average age is 6 to 8, though, because they're those younger school-age kids that it's just a little harder to manage the in and out of being a parent and trying to take care of yourself when you've only got a little window every day. But typically our average age is 6 to 8 or so.
Okay.
So. But we would love, if there's anybody that wants to host teens, we always have that need. We just, that's kind of where our average age has been.
So, and you said you've got Charlevoix, Emmett, Grand Traverse, you're building up all the counties around in the area. So, what's the, am I going to be able to be matched with a family? Is it are there enough volunteers to?
So we need volunteers desperately.
Always, right?
Every agency in the area needs volunteers. Some of it's just based on the fact that northern Michigan's real rural. We're real spread out, and we kind of need to keep kids within about 45 minutes of parents so that visits occur when those hostings are longer. We do want those ties to stay together. So we really got to keep kids kind of within county. Obviously, if families right here on the county line and there's a little wiggle room, but we try to stay within county as much as possible because we want those kids to stay in their school and, stay at their doctor's office if the host family has to take them to a visit, or, stay in their church if that's something that was already part of their life. We want to keep those existing ties there and not break them so that it's one more struggle. But literally anybody from Emmett down to Misaki all the way to Manistee, we need volunteers in all of those counties. We kind of targeted those counties about 1.5 years ago because those are where I've been getting referrals from since I started in 2019. I have more referrals than we can handle. So we would love to see more people step up so that we can meet more of those needs in the years ahead.
Yeah, and you said the commitment level it varies. There's a wide range of what you can. Is there training for volunteers? So if I want to be a family connector or whatever that title was.
Family coach.
Family coach. Is there a training program for that?
So what's really sweet is Safe Families, we're part of Safe Families National, and they built an entire online training portal. So as you get involved, you can do it at your own pace at home.
Oh, cool.
There's training for officially announce we're also doing an in-person training in May at one of our Catholic partner churches. So May 6th and May 13th, it would be both Saturdays required, just to come and do it all in person, because you get to tackle all of your training, get to meet a whole bunch of people. But also, we're going to walk through 95% of the paperwork.
The process, yeah.
Which I'm really excited. I've never gotten to do an in-person training because I started my role 8 months before the pandemic. So this will be our first one, where anybody from the area that wants to make the hike down the Cadillac is welcome to join us. But after this first one, we will launch other ones up north probably. So that's a great way to just tackle it and get it done. And then all that would remain is doing final background checks and like home study stuff that I obviously have to come to your home to do.
Okay, so there is a process. Obviously, it's well thought out. It's all the way across the country. Yeah, that sounds like something that everybody really should know about. Every family should have in their back pocket, either if they are experiencing stress that is unmanageable, or if they know somebody, which we probably all do. I mean, we come across that, and just creating the space that is safe to ask for help. This organization is here to help. There's a need for it, because you're not alone. Like there are lots of people struggling, and let's do this together. So that's awesome. I always ask if we're talking to somebody that works through a religious organization. So if I am not, affiliated with Bethany Christian Church or any other church, am I able to receive the services? Am I also able to volunteer? What are my limitations there? Okay.
Yeah, so Bethany Christian Services is a Christian-run organization, but we don't hold that against anybody. We want to serve anybody regardless of their beliefs and their life choices. We're just here to share that love with people when they're walking through hard days. Same thing with our volunteers. We take volunteers that just want to love their community well. It doesn't matter if they're not plugged in with a church. We do just ask that they're okay with working with our church partners, because we kind of build a structure around each of our local churches who help make those connections to the community for us. So we're all in for anybody that A, needs help, but B, wants to just love on families that are struggling.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, if I'm anxious, or if I'm of a different faith, like it's intimidating to go in and to worry, am I going to be asked to convert? Am I going to be asked to do a Bible study? Am I going to be asked to whatever is happening, to know that I'll be safe within my own beliefs and supported through that. So that's wonderful and inclusive. Thank you.
And that's something we even ask like our host families to be mindful of. Like if they take in a kid of another faith in their home, we want to make sure that we're respecting that child's faith as well, and doing things to connect that child to their faith and their cultures as they're being away from their family.
Yeah, that's huge. And I know you talked about briefly here, and we talked about it before, but that intake process that involves kind of interviewing the parents, so that you really get a good feeling for their values and beliefs and how they're parenting their child, so that if their child is staying with somebody else, that they have all the information in hand. So
we sit down. Our intakes probably take the better part of 2 hours, because we want to let parents know that we see that they're the authority and the knowledge base on what's going on in the life of their family. They're the experts. But they're the experts on their kids, even if they're struggling. So we actually have a separate intake packet for mom or dad, and walk through what mom struggled with, what's dad struggled with, because that impacts what's going on with their kids. But then we fill out a separate packet for each of the children in the household, and ask, what are your kids' strengths? What are those things that terrify your kid that our host family needs to be aware of? If the kid's terrified of the dark, well, let's not put them in a bedroom that there's not a nightlight or a lamp in. But like, what things bring the kid comfort? What does your child love doing? But we even go as far as like, hey, what foods do they just not want to touch? Like, let's not go there with carrots if it's not a carrot-eating kid. But like, just talking through what the parent knows about their kids, so that we're not just trying to step in as the experts, because every parent is the expert on their child. But we also have the parents set goals for what they hope to achieve by working with safe families. And some parents even go as far as setting goals for what they hope for their kids while they're in our care. And we love walking through that. It really gives us a great sense of what's going on in the family, but then we also get to hand that, and we tell the parents, we hand those 2 packets directly to the families that are working with the parents and kids, so that they have all of that knowledge, and it's not just, sitting in the file cabinet in my office here. So.
Yeah, I love that. I think, and I've said it too, like, I should probably just do one of those for my own kids, just to have it when they go to grandma's, or to here's the things you need to know. And we don't do it that way. Could you, maybe try to accommodate
Right, exactly.
this for
Like
my kid?
if reading a story before bed is gonna just upset the kid, then don't do it.
Right.
And every kid's different, and why wouldn't we try to get that info ahead of time? So, yeah.
Love it. Love it. Sounds wonderful. And I'm really excited to learn more about it and share the word more. What else did we kind of touch on everything? Miss
I
anything?
mean, I could talk about safe families for 15 hours. You learned that the other day when we were on Zoom. It's just the thing that I've really come to appreciate about safe families is there truly is that way for everybody to get involved. We can all step in and just do a little bit. And if every person that was connected to Great Start and connected to our local agencies could just step in for one family every year, we could change the area. There's so much that we could do with just a few people. And I've seen it over the last few years as our volunteer pool has changed. So just the thought of thinking of like what we could do so much more with just some more volunteers can plug in would be great.
All right. Well, we better get the word out
Yeah.
to
I
families.
have our fun thing that we're doing this summer.
Okay. Oh,
that I
yeah.
talk about.
Yeah.
I'm just excited about it, and I'm like starting to get to register people. We decided to be wild and crazy and add more to my plate, but I'm really excited about the potential.
I like that we decided to add more to my plate.
It was definitely a we decision. But Safe Families is launching a family camp this summer for our client families from Safe Families Michigan. So while I'm the only Safe Families staff member in Northern Michigan, I actually have 5 colleagues downstate that are in like the Detroit, Grand Rapids, Lansing areas. So between our 6 chapters of Safe Families, we're all bringing families up to a camp in the Boise Falls area for a week of family camp in June. And there's just, camp is just incredible. You just get to go have fun.
Oh, camp is the best.
But the thought of getting to take our clients that don't typically ever get to step away from daily life and giving them a week to just have fun and be together as a family.
With their kids, yeah.
With their kiddos. We're really excited. So we have families coming currently that I know of from at least Grand Rapids, Traverse City area, and Detroit. We're working on some more. But we did the hard work behind the scenes, and we paid for it in full for our client families, so that they just get to come and enjoy. And if there's barriers like transportation, we're gonna send somebody to go pick them up and get them back and forth to camp.
Another volunteer opportunity, perhaps.
It is. It's a very real volunteer opportunity.
Yep.
Because I need a whole bunch of drivers.
Yep.
For June 18 and 23. But we don't want barriers to get in the way, and if there's things we can do to get rid of them, we're gonna knock those barriers down and get those families here just so they can step aside for a week and have some fun. So
That is super duper exciting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. So is that going to be for like graduate families that are?
some of it's literally any family that's ever been touched by Safe Families Michigan.
Awesome.
So some of it is current client families, like one of my Traverse City current families is attending. Some of it's past families that have worked with us. It's really just anybody that our existing team thinks would benefit from the week. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah, you should be excited because that's
am.
really fun. And you get to go, right? Like you get to be.
I'm
Okay.
actually boots on the ground the entire week.
Okay.
So I will be there.
You're still in charge. I love it, Kayleen. It's always great to talk to you. Is there anything else? I know there's more. There's always more, but we got the main.
There's always more. I would just encourage everybody to take a second and head over to Bethany.org/families and see if there's just one piece of the puzzle you can play for us. Because it would go a long ways for us to grow that network. As families have changed over the last few years with the pandemic, we've had a lot of volunteers that just for what's going on in their lives have had to step aside. So if everybody can just step in just a little bit.
Bethany.org/safefamilies, and I'll stick that in the comments when we're done here so that people can access that, and we'll make sure we share that out on our collaborative page as well. And we've got all these
and
wonderful.
they can always give me a call, and Gina, I can give you my number to throw down there, but it's 231-421-6494, and that's my direct line here at the office. And then we're also on Facebook and Instagram at Safe Families Northern Michigan.
All right, there's no excuse not to get a hold of you then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Kayleen, it's wonderful to talk to you, and I'm super excited. I love all the work Safe Families does, and every time I learn more from you, I get more and more excited and grateful that it exists. So I will spread the word and see if we can get you some more volunteers, some more families.
Perfect. We love that. Thank you so much for having me.
Yep, you're welcome. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.